Okay, I think we are live. Just gotta make sure that we are fully. We are live. Okay. So, I was looking through stuff for the finance phrase for lines, and I found by Megaharv, it's their profile, um, dated back in 2015 of the analysis of every line. Thank you for actually putting them in different ways because it makes it a little bit easier for me to realize which one is which. And I always forget there's a Knight 7 on here. Also, you're going to hear dogs in the background. Also, I fixed my microphone stand. Also, I lagged there for some reason. That was great. Okay. So, starting off here, um pretty simple stuff. I started with with this website, not website. This comment on Steam to help with making lines for like the beginning and all that. Then I started putting the mentions, like what I have to mention in this, and then what the ending should be. So I want to end with the bite victim. And if you guys don't know, the song will be about the FNAF 4 crying child, but what did he see? And we're making references to books and the games for the scenes. So obviously, I want to start first with the no, don't you remember what you saw? With Fredbear, and I wanted to start with mentioning of Charlie being taken by Afton in front of Sammy, but most likely put it as Yellow Rabbit instead, because we do see him in the games as well. In that back area. I would have to rewatch that secret spot. Mention of being trapped in the back room alone, which is he's trapped in the parts and service area in the back, and basically I saw that with night 3, I think, up here. Yes, you saw those scary shadows. So there was also yeah, please let me out when he's in the room. So that's what I want to do. Basically, he's being trapped in bedroom. Mention if he has a sister or a sister and brother by saying their names. By the way, I did this late last night. And also bad news. Thank you if Triad Ninja ever sees this for answering me back. It was a nice way to say I can't do it. Even if it was just because they didn't he didn't want to do it. He did it in a nice way and just said he's busy with his own music, and I just replied, "Thank you. That's okay, and hope to hear your music soon." So we also want to mention the plushies, but with no Spring Bonnie. Something about a finger trap I want to put in as well, because I know the lines are in there. I'm gonna make this have a little bit closer. Okay. So going back to this, I want to mention something about being a finger trap. Mention about crying child, possible name being Sammy, which would probably be more. Actually, let me do this. I would want to have it more of being probably with this section. So if I Control C, Control V, there we go. Okay. Moving on, mention that he looks worried all the time because he in the lines it mentions that somewhere. And then end with the bite happening. Okay. So I was going through a couple of song title ideas. Is Tomorrow is Another Day of Death, or What Have I Witnessed? Who Am I? I Am the Only One. I think I might go with this one. I'm actually going to put a black highlight behind it with white text. So I want to do that. Who am I? Am I the only one? Those two seem closer than Tomorrow is Another Day of Death, because Tomorrow is Another Day of Death does not sound right. I do have to do this. I do want to mention the last time I ever made a song, it was 2 years ago. The full version of that, and then when I made my original one, it sounded like this.
I am remade, but not by you, by the one you should not have killed.
He's here and always watching, the one you shouldn't have killed.
This is how it feels, and you get to experience it over and over and over again.
Sorry, I don't read this language, so I have to look it up. Google Translate. Oh, God of War Ragnarok. Okay. What do you mean, Jabbo? What do you mean, what happened? Mine is always dead. That's why I normally stay quiet. Frederick, Flush. Yeah, no one really answers these, and I'm trying to collaborate with other uh YouTube music people, but right now I'm just coming up with lyrics. There, Flush. Sure, I will. I'll try my best. I'm probably gonna put them live somewhere. Song, songs. Sorry about that. Bridge 4, open the chest. Yeah, that was really funny. We don't bite. I know those.
Sleep, reality, or memory. Don't be scared of what you find.
Wait, this was animated 7 years ago? I did not know that.
Yeah, it's all just in your mind. Monsters that live inside your head at night, they are alright, 'cause they can never compare
Okay. Um. Yeah. When I heard this, I cried. Let's see here.
You hear my calls, my cries from outside the halls. Monsters inside me haunt my
I want to make sure I'm not like fully copying over like.
lasting dream.
So this is gonna be the dream section because I'm gonna mix multiple um songs, not songs, theories together of like if it is it Sammy, is it Michael Afton's little brother, is it um what he's seeing, the murders happening, all that.
Cause that always believes in my dying breath. I repeat, was standing.
Okay. Find a child. I do find it really weird that it says, "Don't you remember what you saw?" It it always interested me with one thing that in every single time it says he, what he did, what he's done, he's hiding, all that, and then this one line just says, "Don't you remember what you saw?" That's what I'm thinking. Originally, it was about Charlie. Remember, this is just bare bones stuff right now. So I've been hearing about the Mimic lately, and I haven't really looked into it. I have the Tales of the Pizzaplex books. Where did they go? Oh, they're over here. I haven't got to read the Mimic section yet. I have heard about it. Um, but I haven't really gone into it. That's why I wanted to do the FNAF 4 thing, because I haven't seen anybody go in the multiple possibilities at once with any song, so that's why I want to do like that. My child. So I'm gonna play this one because this was just released last night.
Recently, the entire FNAF community has lost their minds over something called the Mimic. This new character has apparently solved a bunch of mysteries surrounding Security Breach. And in this video, I'm gonna explain what the Mimic is and my theory for how I think it fits into the game's story. The Mimic is actually something we've heard before in this franchise. The first instance of the word Mimic being used in a FNAF game was actually in FNAF World with the Mimic Ball. If you used this ability while fighting enemies, it would mimic any attack you made, therefore sending that same attack a second time. But as far as the Mimic we know today, there's actually two versions of it. The program version of it was actually introduced last month in the last Tales book in a story called The Storyteller, but more on that later. The physical Mimic was actually introduced in the most recent Tales book in a story called The Mimic. This book actually doesn't release until May 2nd, but some bookstores are just putting them on the shelves early, and that's how I got it. The Mimic centers around Edwin and his son David, who was known for carrying around a white tiger plushie. After Edwin's wife Fiona passed away while giving birth to David, he was now a single—
I do want to mention that you can tell FNAF actually does all this basically by himself, just by the animation type thing he does.
father with little money. Edwin worked for Fazbear Entertainment as an engineer.
It still
and fixing
tells the
robots
story
such as
really well.
Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy for the company. The story states that one of the first animatronics he created was a robotic vacuum cleaner. He then sold enough of the vacuums to start his own company, but his company ended up failing and being bought out by Fazbear Entertainment for unknown reasons. The Fazbear executive stated that Edwin was, quote, doing the right thing. Now, as a single dad who's low on money, he lived in an abandoned factory. He turned a portion of the factory into a makeshift apartment for him and his son to live in. One day, David kept asking his dad if they could go get ice cream, and Edwin had to say no because he was so behind on his work. He realized he needed someone or something to watch over his son and keep him entertained so he could devote more time to his work. He then built the Mimic, an endoskeleton running a software Edwin created called Mimic 1. The endoskeleton was programmed to mimic anything it saw. David loved the endoskeleton, and Edwin was finally able to get a ton of work done. The Mimic even eventually had its own makeshift tiger plushie that it carried around, just like David's. Everything was great until one day when Edwin was busy working, David chased after his red ball that was rolling into the street and got hit by a car, killing him. Edwin, so overwhelmed with sadness and rage, was only left with the Mimic, who was still mimicking his deceased son. In a fit of rage, Edwin destroyed the endoskeleton, hitting it over and—
So I want to mention the lore technically really hasn't changed that much because of the Mimic, as I've really thought. It does explain Afton a lot more now, like Glitch Trap, because at first it made no sense of like how would this be happening in that universe? Because normally, whenever they take over a system, it's the whole system. It's not just a small part of it. And that's why I was so confused in how it's more of a virus than it is actually just the soul. Then when the Mimic came out, it explained it a lot better, that this could possibly be the reason how he is more of just a imitation of Afton than he is of than just like Afton himself. Because we all basically agree that it wasn't Afton. It definitely was not Afton. It was, but we did. Sorry, but we didn't know exactly how Afton became this. Like, we knew about the scanning of the circuit board and all that, but it didn't make sense for him, for the virus just to be a virus at the moment, until we found out about the Mimic robots. And it's been basically, the system's been mentioned twice in the books, I think, so far.
And over again with a metal rod.
Or
The
three
story
times.
then skips ahead in time to a few months later. Edwin is missing, and a group of Fazbear employees were sent to the abandoned factory where Edwin and his son lived for unknown reasons. The entrance to the building had double doors that locked behind you once you were inside. Now locked inside, the Fazbear employees were left to deal with the Mimic, who started brutally killing them one by one. The Mimic loved dressing up in disguises, using old costumes left behind by Edwin. The Mimic first used a jester costume, then switched its costume to other characters, eventually killing off every employee by ripping off their limbs. The Mimic was taught to mimic whatever it saw, so after that day where Edwin took all of his anger out on it, it now was going to do the same to anyone it came in contact with. So let me know if you've heard this before. So we've got a dad who built a robot for his kid. The kid dies with his death involving a car. Now the robot was then literally a robotic version of his kid. The dad then, after the death of his kid, pours his agony into the robot, beats it up, and now the robot is an evil version of his now deceased kid. This story is quite literally mimicking Henry's story. Edwin was revealed to be the creator of the main 4 animatronics, something Henry also reveals to be the case.
Small souls trapped in prisons of my making.
We literally see Edwin's robotic vacuum in Henry's pizzeria in FNAF 6. Henry rebuilt his daughter Charlie after her murder, which also involved a car. In the books, Henry pours his agony into the adult Charlie bot, who Afton then steals and turns into Baby/Elizabeth. Baby lured kids in with ice cream, which was David's favorite snack. So if Baby really is the in-game version of the Mimic, is there in-game evidence to back this up? Well, let's look back at the first game Baby was introduced in, FNAF World. JC Jack on Twitter pointed out that the Mendo character from FNAF World could easily be a mix of the words Mimic and Endo. A character named Mimic was already established in the game, so that's not too hard to believe. But the Mimic Ball and Mendo also share one very distinct feature, the antenna on top of both of their heads. This antenna can also be found on another character in this franchise, Baby. But not just Baby. The antenna also shows up on every animatronic we know that Henry created. As we know, the whole idea of Afton stealing the Charlie bot and turning it into Baby was in the Silver Eyes trilogy, which began releasing a whole 6 months before Baby was introduced in FNAF.
Not the graphic novel, the actual story, not the graphic novel. Just want to make that clear.
World Update 2. It was also Update 2 that Scott said he wanted to pull elements from for FNAF Into Madness. If you keep up with the channel, you already know that I think FNAF Into Madness is the games we are currently playing, with the BB World game and Security Breach literally being called Scott Into Madness in the game files. The name Into Madness came from Foxy.exe, where Foxy says,
"Be sure your step through the heart of madness."
This was Scott introducing the idea of a character entering the real world by driving the player of a minigame into madness, which is what we see happen to Vanessa in FNAF VR, and now I believe happened to Gregory when he played the BB World game. The character you unlock when you beat Foxy.exe in Update 2 is Nightmare Ione, the evil/dark version of Charlie, which is quite literally what Baby is in the books. Not to mention in Security Breach, there's a secret room in the Endo daycare that features an endoskeleton that only activates once you grab the Nightmare Ione plush sitting in front of it. I believe Baby, aka the evil version of Charlie that Henry built and then Afton stole, is the big bad and will be revealed to be the big bad in the DLC. I know that sounds insane, but stay with me. Now, I know all of you hardcore Mimic enjoyers are pressing X to doubt everything I've said in this video so far because of one very important thing I left out, the epilogues. So let's talk about them. If you don't know, at the end of every Tales from the Pizzaplex book, there's an epilogue, and all of these epilogues from every book are one coherent story. The epilogues in the Tales books also feature the Mimic. The story begins with some workers who were hired to clean up the old pizzeria we see under the Pizzaplex. While they were cleaning though, they received a delivery of quote state-of-the-art animatronics that were for the Pizzaplex. These were presumably the Glamrock animatronics. One of the workers quickly noticed that one of the animatronics was destroyed, saying quote, well, they're gonna need another guitarist, referring to what I think was Bonnie. The workers had a lot of work to do, but one of them had a plan. What if these new animatronics could do the work for us? So he plugged his laptop into Bonnie and ordered it to take off the arms and legs of all of the endoskeletons laying around and throw them into a pile. And surprisingly, Bonnie did what he was told. Once he was done with the endoskeletons though, he started ripping off the arms and legs of the workers, one by one tearing them apart. One of the workers escaped and told the guys to seal up the entrance with.
May I remind you, MatPat just tried his best what he had. Again, it's always a common thing. FNAF, because of the releases of these books, has had such a weird thing going on. Because, may I remind you, the books aren't exactly one-to-one with the games, obviously. Even with the original novel trilogy. Because we found out... Actually, we don't know truly about, like, what happened to Charlie's soul. We know Charlie was killed, but we do know the way that she was. She was kidnapped in the in the diner on October 31st, 1992. And she had a twin called Sammy. But other than that, we don't have anything that, like, really, like, these books, the Tales of the Pizzaplex are the only ones that are, like, actually really close to the Security Breach games. Obviously, because it's Security Breach. Not Security Breach, Pizzaplex. But it is something to tell about the story here.
With cement, locking Bonnie and all of the dead workers inside. Later on in the epilogues, a group of friends decide to go explore the same pizzeria the Bonnie animatronic was left in. Eventually, they get trapped in there with him, and he starts killing them off one by one. In the newest epilogue, we learned that the Bonnie endo that was killing them was version 2 of the original Mimic endoskeleton, and that Fazbear Entertainment actually built a whole line.
So, not FNAF. Sammy is canon for the books, not the games. That's why I'm saying it's not... We don't get exactly what's going on with Charlie's soul, because we know Charlie was killed outside of a diner, or let's just say restaurant. Was outside of a restaurant when killed by Afton, with 2 minigames proving that true, with Midnight Motorist and Save Him minigame, which is the retcon that Scott talked about and all that. So during that time, nope, sorry, I'm blanking right now. That's basically where it is at the moment. Of that, that's all we know between the two. Is that there's big differences, but they also are similar. But the closets have been coming up into the games a lot more recently. Example, Baby is a big part of it, because she literally turns into that form in the books. I have the novel trilogy, but I'm not gonna go through it right now. But she literally turns into her baby form during that section. So Baby is kind of is in both worlds. Obviously the events are kind of similar too, because Elizabeth does get killed inside and possesses Baby in that book. But other than that, stuff starts to split, because during that time, she's not with Afton. She's still in the basement. In the books, she definitely is, because William yells Elizabeth at Baby in the middle of it. Um, in the games, I really can't prove it as much. Because we never get the actual name. I think, except for uh, Henry saying it in his ending. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it. Those two connect there. Because it's obviously not Lefty, because that has the pup in it, which is Charlie. Um, not not Scrap Trap, because that's Afton. Not Molten Freddy, because that's Ennard, basically. The only one leaves is Baby. Or Scrap Baby. What does that have to do? Well, the police officer is named Vanessa, and last time I checked, um, Vanessa is not a police officer. She's a security guard. And first, before even that, she worked for a VR company, or at least the Fazbear Entertainment Company beforehand as well. So it's you can't. The only one that actually makes sense for that whole scene is Mike himself, Mike Schmidt, or however you say it. Mike Schmidt makes more sense. They might look like the characters, but they're definitely not, because we've never seen Vanessa as a police officer. She definitely would know like the secrets, but it's way too early basically in the timeline if this is the first not the first. If it's part of the first game of that restaurant, that'd be too early. Because as we know, she is working that place is taken down after we finish our nights. Obviously we didn't bring a child with us, but that doesn't really matter. That could be different. Um, the only part that actually like feels familiar is actually it's in the book. Is that they bring a child with them, the group of friends with them to Freddy Fazbear's, and only I think Jason was his name. Jason was pushed away from them, and he wasn't one that truly was attacked. He wasn't truly attacked. He actually only got stabbed because he was getting pulled away from the teenagers because they look like adults. But that's the only thing I can think of that sounds and feels very similar. I don't think we can use. It's going to be the same thing with the books. We can't use the books as complete canon for the main games. So I think that's going to be the same thing with the movie. Like it's not going to be canon like that. Anyways, moving on.
Of these mimic endoskeletons. And that's basically all we know so far from the epilogues. Obviously, this Bonnie mimic endoskeleton is a big metaphor for Burn Trap. And the big reveal is that Burn Trap isn't actually William Afton, but a mimic endoskeleton that's trying to replicate William Afton. Now, do I believe that the mimic we hear about in the epilogues is Burn Trap? Yes. But do I believe the story we hear in the epilogues is 100% how it happened? No. That wasn't the case for the epilogues in the Fazbear Frights books, and I don't think that's the case now. Here's what I think happened. So it seems that in order to cut corners on development, Fazbear Entertainment stole Edwin's Mimic program and used it for their VR game. But when they scanned Mimic 1 into the game, the program quite literally got the spark notes of Afton's greatest hits. Because that game quite literally...
I do want to mention that I think every time he's talked about like a game, he's mostly used Markiplier's.
Literally spells out the story of Afton through the minigames. The program then created Glitch Trap, a new digital recreation of William Afton created by the Mimic 1 software.
I mostly just stream on this app, not this app. This for YouTube, I mostly stream on here. Sometimes I stream on Twitch when I'm playing games. I've been trying to do TikTok, but not really that much is going on there. Instagram, no. I don't even have Facebook anymore. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Glitchtrap was now willing to do anything to get out of the VR game and enter the real world. That's where Vanessa comes in. While playtesting the game, Vanessa fell under the control of Glitchtrap, now becoming his reluctant follower who he could control. After Vanessa gets infected, he orders her to make a bunny costume, just like him. She even starts mimicking his behavior, his wave, his shushing motion, his skipping. Glitchtrap then realizes he needs an endoskeleton of his own to occupy, so Vanessa gets to work on that. Vanessa then destroys Bonnie to use his endo for Glitchtrap. We see proof of this in-game. When we first meet Vanessa in the first aid area, she walks away into a gated-off room. This room is where you can find the duffel bag about Bonnie's last whereabouts and also Bonnie's leg. How do I know this is Bonnie's leg? Something that I didn't notice until recently is that these
fun
boxes
fact
are kind of
about-
stacked like they're steps.
About that, they're still going to be on the phone. If you originally have it downloaded already, it's going to be on the phone. It was the same thing with Fortnite. Yeah, they really can't take it off your phone if you already have it. Most of the time when an app gets deleted off the App Store or Google Play, it mostly stays there when you already have it downloaded. Unless they have a new way to do it. I'm pretty sure I'm not worried about that. Also, I haven't heard anything else about the TikTok story, so I'm not really here about that anyways.
Like Steelwolf wants you to climb on top of them and examine the leg. So that's exactly what I did. And what I found is something that I've yet to see anyone else discover. As you can probably see, there is remnants of Bonnie's blue paint on the endoskeleton leg. And it's not just in one spot, it's all over this thing. And if Vanessa is using parts of Bonnie's endoskeleton to help rebuild Afton, and one of Bonnie's legs is on this table, the other one is attached to Burntrap. And I think it's entirely possible that Vanessa used parts of Scraptrap's endoskeleton and some of the new and old endos that Fazbear Entertainment made, which explains why the other leg doesn't have the same amount of toes as the Bonnie leg. Why would Glitchtrap want Bonnie? Because Glitchtrap wants to mimic William Afton. No other animatronic would make sense. After decommissioning Bonnie, Vanessa then put the Glitchtrap virus into the Bonnie endo. We see this in the FNAF AR emails when Vanessa isolates the virus into one place, aka into the Bonnie endo. Now, all that Vanessa needs to do is get the Bonnie /Glitchtrap /Mimic endo to Afton's body. She does this by using Glamrock Freddy to clear the path down to where Afton's body lived. The Bonnie endo
Yeah, I don't think they're slowing down anytime soon. Yeah, they were not making anything before, and then holy crap. And now that the government is talking more and more about TikTok, more people are joining it. So so I'm not worried about that.
Now with Glitchtrap inside of it, then quite literally takes Afton's corpse and puts it on himself, which is why when we see Burntrap in game, Afton's corpse is on a newer version of the Bonnie endoskeleton. We also learned that Bonnie had special pointy fingers so he could play the bass, which is what we see on Burntrap. So yes, Burntrap is not technically William Afton. He's the Mimic 1 software that turned into Glitchtrap that Vanessa then turned into a physical form. If you haven't noticed yet, I have quite literally contradicted myself. At the beginning of the video, I said that the Mimic was Baby, and now I'm saying it's Burntrap. But like I said earlier, we find out that Fazbear Entertainment built their own versions of the Mimic endoskeletons. This is what I believe Burntrap is made from. The OG Mimic in the story with Edwin and his son, I still believe is the Charlie Bot / Baby. The Mimic that Edwin built is never described to have bunny ears. And if you remember, Dave.
So I'm going to go do something real quick. I'll keep this playing. I'll be right back, okay?
David and the Mimic both had tiger plushies that they carried around with them. And as much as people like to say that it looks like Burntrap is holding a plushie in his arm, every other time we see Afton, his arms are at his side. And in this part of the cutscene, I'm just not convinced that's what he's doing. And if Burntrap was actually imitating holding a tiger plush, that would imply the existence of Edwin, his son, and the tiger plushie in the game's timeline, which I don't see being the case since Edwin is very obviously a parallel to Henry. And in the epilogues where the Burntrap Mimic is featured, it's never described to be holding a plushie or even looking like it's holding a plushie. One thing I forgot to mention about the Mimic is that when it was playing with Edwin's son David, they used to draw on multicolored sheets of paper, which is exactly what we see in the sticky note room in Security Breach. But to get to the sticky note room, you have to go through the sewers until you reach this weird structure. It seems that the Pizzaplex was built on top of not just the old pizzeria, but some other structure. Judging by the parking spaces, it looks to be an abandoned parking structure, but I think this could easily be the in-game parallel of the abandoned factory Edwin and his son lived in. Need more proof? The Mimic and Edwin's son also used to draw on multicolored sheets of paper, like in the sticky note room that is connected right to the structure. And above the sticky note room, we have a workstation with endo blueprints on the table, which mimics Edwin's workstation where he built the Mimic. The Mimic is also known for tearing off the arms and legs of anything it sees. And what do we see as we enter the sticky note room? Staffbot torsos missing all of their arms and legs. This all seemed like a slam dunk. But even with all of that, I was still having doubts until I realized this. One of the biggest things we know about Edwin's warehouse is that when the Fazbear employees entered it, the double doors locked behind them, trapping them inside. This is exactly what happens when you enter the sticky note room. The big double doors lock behind you, trapping you inside. Also, like I said, I believe the original Mimic was Henry's rebuilt version of Charlie. And in the source code, the doors we use to enter the sticky note room are titled Charlie Door. There are just way too many connections here for this to be a coincidence. And all of this is to say that I think my original theory for who lived in the sticky note room might actually be correct. I definitely think it's possible that a robotic version of Charlie occupied that room. Just to clarify, I don't think Edwin is an actual character in the game universe, and I don't think that's his actual warehouse. All I'm saying is that these connections are real, and I think we'll find out way more about what these connections mean in the DLC. My guess right now is that this connects to Henry and the Charlie bots. One thing I've been looking back at recently is the wall code in the sister location room in Security Breach, and what it could possibly mean. If this is Michael's room, let's just assume that Michael wrote the code. And since this room is featured in sister location, there has to be some connection to that game. And I believe that connection is the one time we hear Michael speak in this entire franchise, during his speech to his father. In the speech, he says that he put her, aka Elizabeth, back together.
And I found her. I put her back together.
And in the code on the wall, it says, "Break and mend, I built the breath. They hunt now, drawn to life." But if Michael is only talking about Elizabeth, why would he be using they instead of she? That's because maybe there isn't just one Elizabeth bot. In the novel trilogy, Henry created 4 versions of Charlie, with the final book literally being titled The Fourth Closet. Now let me point you towards the map we see in sister location during the Funtime Freddy section. On this map, we see the Afton house, Fredbear's, the bedroom from FNAF 4, and the Plush Trap minigame, with each gray dot representing an animatronic. This is something that Rye Toast actually pointed out to me a while back. We see Fredbear and Spring Bonnie, the Nightmare animatronics, and 4 separate dots with 1 in each closet. The 4 Elizabeth bots, 1 for each stage of her life. It's actually heavily hinted at that the Mimic wrote the symbols of the wall code on one of the sheets of paper he was drawing with Edwin's son, solidifying the connection between the Charlie/Elizabeth bot and the wall code. What Scott was trying to do with sister location is something that we never saw pay off in this franchise until until now. I believe that this little girl is one of those 4 Charlie/Elizabeth bots that Michael put back together and might have occupied the sticky note room. But like I said earlier, I still believe Baby is going to be revealed as the big bad in the DLC, or at least one of the 4 versions of her. Why do I think this? Well, last month in the 5th Tales from the Pizzaplex book, we were introduced to the Storyteller. Long story short, Fazbear Entertainment built a big tree in the middle of the atrium in the Pizzaplex called the Storyteller. Inside the tree was an AI that had fiber optic cables that were connected to every part of the Pizzaplex and basically controlled everything. The AI ended up being the reason all of the robots started acting more aggressive, which is what we see in Security Breach. Edwin, who still worked for Fazbear, noticed that the Storyteller was making everything worse. Because of this, Edwin decided to sneak inside the tree to see what was behind all of this. And what he found was quite literally a giant white tiger head. The same white tiger that his son and the Mimic were known for carrying around with them. The white tiger was running the same program that he created 40 years ago, Mimic 1. Obviously, this giant white tiger head is a little goofy and out of place. And when I think of a giant animatronic head that's goofy and out of place, I think of the giant Freddy head next to the pizzeria under the Pizzaplex. The Storyteller tree also had a bunch of black fiber optic cables connecting to every part of the Pizzaplex. And what do we find after we see the giant Freddy head? The blob, which looks awfully similar to a bunch of black fiber optic cables in a giant clump. So do I think the Storyteller tree was actually a real thing in the Pizzaplex? No. But do I think it's a giant metaphor for the giant Freddy head and the blob? Maybe. If Baby really is the in-game version of the Mimic that Edwin built for his son, and the Mimic is represented by the giant white tiger head, then to me that screams that Baby is going to be behind the blob. That may sound insane, but we've seen this happen before in the Fazbear Frights series. Eleanor ended up being the big bad in those stories. And in FNAF World Update 2, the final boss looks like it's going to be the giant Purplegeist, but really gets revealed to be Chica's magic rainbow, something we see hanging in Charlie's bedroom in the Silver Eyes graphic novels. Now there's one more major thing we need to talk about. I think we can prove in Security Breach that the endos we see in that game are the newer versions of Henry's Mimic endo. As we learned in the story The Mimic, Edwin, aka Henry, was forced to have Fazbear Entertainment buy out his robotics company. And in my last theory, I talked about how in the FNAF 2 phone calls it reveals that Henry was the previous owner and that he lost the company.
We're gonna try to contact the original restaurant owner. I think the name of the place was Red Bear's Family Diner or something like that.
What this story reveals is that Henry might have signed away the company, but he was still making all of the robots, which would include
I don't know what you mean by that. Like, of course, but the puppet isn't Baby. And the baby isn't the puppet. So, I don't know what you mean by that.
the security puppet, which looks shockingly similar to the design of the Funtime animatronics, further backing up that the Funtime's designs were actually Henry's that Afton stole. If Henry really did build all of the animatronics we see in the games, that would include the toy animatronics. And one quirk of the toy animatronics is that they're sensitive to bright light.
Flash your light at him from time to time. Those older models would always get disoriented with bright light. It would cause a system restart or something. Come to think of it, you might want to try that on any room where something undesirable might be. It might hold him in place for a few seconds. That glitch might have carried over to the newer models too.
And so are the Glamrock animatronics.
What are you doing?
And what do we see hidden behind the arcade machine in Glamrock Freddy's green room? His matching toy version in plushie form. I'm aware that this video was insane, but if any of this theory ends up being correct, I will poop myself. But at this Hello. My name
I forgot I did this live. And you realize how
And,
scripted his
I
stuff
mean,
is.
my name is John. How are you? Can you even hear me? Yes, you can. You can hear me. I have it together today. That's kind of crazy. Okay.
I wish I
So,
actually watched this live.
I'm
That would
gonna
have been really
treat
funny.
This. Hi everyone. Hi everyone. Hi everyone. Hi everyone. Thanks for being here. I don't know how many people are here. I don't even want to look because I'm nervous. Okay. I'm not nervous. I'm playing this music, the FNAF 6 lawsuit music, because I need to relax. Because I know there's... Oh, God, I saw there's over 1,000 people here. Okay. I'm going to treat this...
Yeah, I don't see anybody really hating on him.
It's a live YouTube video. Okay? Like, it's a live YouTube video. I just want this to be something that people can click
That's cool.
on. And...
Oh, what? I'm also emailing JT Machinima.
Talking about what the heck I was talking about in my theory. This is not going to cover everything. I'm just going to cover things that I want to clarify, things that I want to debunk that I said, because I think that's also important. And in general, I think this is going to be a good, chill stream/video. So if you're down for that, I'm happy to have you here. Because I feel like, oh my...
So, may I remind you, Baby was not to protect. I think Baby was supposed to be a thing of, like, mimic and all that. But I think because of Afton, she turned out to be more of a protector. More of that she could just kill Elizabeth, but we won't go there. And we do see both the puppet and Elizabeth on the blob. Or not Elizabeth, Baby. But yeah. If you would be interested in vocals, lyrics, yes, Baby was supposed to capture Revenant, but ended up capturing Elizabeth instead, which then got possessed and all that.
my God, there's 1,200 people. Okay. Okay. Trent? I'm sorry. Trent Gaming. Hi, John. What are your thoughts on pretzel pizza? I've never had pretzel pizza. I bet it's
Hell's
delicious.
pretzel
though.
pizza?
That just sounds like one of those things that's delicious. Okay.
Be interested in vocals and lyrics.
I have created a PowerPoint presentation. Okay? I'm not kidding. I have created a PowerPoint presentation to show you what the heck I was trying to say in this video. And I know the majority of you like the video. It's not that big of a deal, but this is for the people that wanted a little more, because I think the one thing I failed at with this video, oh, Bucky Ray, thank you so much for the 20. Thank you so much. You'll be fine. Deep breaths. Thank you. Thank you, Bucky. I appreciate it. It's pronounced Trinity. Thank you so much. But yeah, nice mimic vid you did. I'm ready to be educated better than my college professor. Great. Okay. I can't read super chats. I might cut this part out of the final, because I just want this to be like a YouTube video of me explaining what's going on. So we're just gonna jump into it. Tiffany with the 20. Stop it. Okay. Hi, John. Hi, Tiffany. I love all your videos and your theories are so good. I'm currently new to theory crafting, and I definitely have a theory on when sister location takes place. Okay.
This is the problem with sometimes doing live streams.
Love to hear it. Post it on Twitter, make a YouTube video, tag me. I'd love to hear you guys' theories, but thank you so much for the super chats. Anyways. Okay. I want to start off with this. My acne is terrible when I'm very stressed and anxious. Acne go crazy. Whenever I make a big video like this one, this just happens. So King, thank you so much. Hey John, you'll do great. Thank you. Katie, thank you so much. I've been loving your passion with your vids. Thank you so much. Okay. Here we go. First, I want to address like the drama. Okay. I have been getting lots of hate. Lots of hate from this video in particular.
Just want to mention this was the email I got from Trier Ninja, and that was my response. Yeah, that was all that. Okay.
And I don't take hate very well. I don't think a lot of people have realized that before my I solved FNAF security breach video came out, I did not really post theories on my channel. If I did, I was talking about your guys' theories. Like, you guys brought up that Gregory might be a robot, like a year before anyone else was saying it. And I made a video about that. You can go check it out on my channel. I talked about your theories. I never really made a video about my theories in the style that I did with I solved FNAF security breach. And when I posted the I solved FNAF security breach, that video quite literally changed my channel. It changed my life. I've never been more passionate about a video. I've never been more excited to show you guys a video.
Okay.